Okay, so the plan for tonight is we're going to be doing some tuning up or some benchmarking. Basically getting a couple of boats up next to each other and working on doing some sail adjustment and trimming and tuning upwind to see if we can improve our upwind performance. We're also going to have some optional kite practice for downwind. What we're going to do is we're going to have a windward and a leeward mark set. So when you start doing your tuning up, if you start at leeward mark, start heading your way up towards the windward mark. When you get close to the windward mark, if you are going to do some kite practice, you can stop doing your tuning up, get ready for your kite hoist and see how you go getting around the top mark for that kite hoist. The wind could die a little, so if it isn't worth staying out, we'll come in and we'll spend a little bit more time in the wardroom. We'll probably go on a little bit into not only the trimming and tuning side of things, but also into some of the wind shift components as well, which is the other thing which affects our upwind performance. Please do come back to the wardroom afterwards for a debrief. Time will be confirmed out on the water. We will be on channel 62. If you want to talk to another boat, please change to channel 6 or channel 8, just so that we're not getting lots of traffic on there. We will also give you guys cell phone numbers for the boats you're paired up for your benchmarking or tuning up. Okay, so in terms of positioning yourselves for tuning up, we want to get the boats reasonably close together so that you can see how you're going against the other boat and so those little changes become more apparent. So basically one boat just to kind of straight off the beam of the other one, 2-3 boat lengths, just making sure that we're not getting into that kind of lee bow zone, because obviously if you're the windward boat and you're being lee bowed off there, then it's going to give you some false results in terms of performance. If you do feel like that's happening, then leeward boat can just foot off a little bit, so just either slow down or drop down a little bit, just get yourself back in that position and set yourselves up. Again, a little bit of communication between the boats out there will help you out a lot. Before we do the tuning up exercise, set up how you would set the boat up to race in these conditions. We're going to sail the boats together, and just as we had on the diagram before, start off by saying who is faster or slower and who is higher and lower. And these are terms which I think as crew you should be starting to use. So the other boats either going faster, slower, higher, lower, and just trying to figure out, you know, how they're going relative to you. Once you've figured out how the two boats are going together, because you won't necessarily be exactly the same, one boat's going to keep everything the same, just keep sailing exactly how you have been. The other boat is going to start changing some things. Do this for half a beat, and then when you agree to, you can swap over and the other boat can start changing some things. So it just gives you an opportunity to tweak a few things and get some kind of visual feedback on how you're doing. When you're doing your tuning, best thing to do is do your head sail tuning first. So 3 things I want you to really focus on is looking at your halyard tension. Hopefully you've had, or at least your head sail trimmers have had a look at the North's video I sent. It is pretty old, but it is still quite relevant to the boats that you guys are sailing generally. So looking at the halyard tension, wanting to make sure that we don't have the sail kind of scalloping between your hanks, but we don't also have it very tight, remembering that halyard tension is affecting where the draft is in the sail. Also looking at car position, so looking at how our telltales are breaking from top to bottom of the sail, and playing around with those car positions. Finally, looking at your sheet tension, remembering particularly if we have light winds this afternoon and this evening, that we don't want to put too much sheet tension on. If we pull all the shape out of the bottom of the sail and just have it flat like a board, we're not going to get too much out of it. Likewise, we have it too loose and we've got too much shape in the bottom, we're either going to find that the wind stalls out on it or that we're going particularly slow. So having a play with those 3 things, ideally in that order. Moving on to mainsail tuning, looking at halyard tension, which we can also control with our Cunningham if you have one on your boat. So again, that halyard tension is controlling where the draft is in your sail. Remembering that a ugly sail can still be fast. One of the really good things I like about the North's video I sent out earlier is that, you know, it's not all a science, there's also some art to it. and just getting a bit of a feel for it. So seeing if more halyard tension or less halyard tension makes a boat feel better. Looking at how much outhaul tension we've got on. So again, if the wind dies out and it's light, making sure we don't have too much depth in our sail, because we've got too much depth, that wind's going to stall out on there. But likewise, that we're not boarding it out completely flat. Backstay, remember that's also used for flattening off the upper sections of our sail. If it's not so windy, we're probably not going to have so much backstay on. And then looking at our traveller position and our sheet tension and how that's affecting the twist in our sail, and if we can get those telltales all the way up the sail flying. What you guys need to be doing is also keeping a record of what you're doing. So you don't want to just do all this stuff, get this awesome setup, and then have no idea what you've been doing. So having some marks or some way of telling how much halyard tension you got on, where your traveller is, where your outhaul is really useful. If you don't have that, then you will have to approximate. We're going to work really hard to get some photos, so you're going to get you may get an extra crew member to take some photos on board your boat. We'll also be taking some photos from Kaniwi on the water to feed back to you, so you can have a bit of a look from outside the boat what your sails are actually looking at. We won't have a huge amount of time this evening in the wardroom to review this, and I won't have all of this stuff ready for you, but we are going to be sending this stuff out during the week. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have some of those so that you can have a look at it and figure out if it is actually, or what you can do better, how your sails are actually looking. The other thing is, for this session, having race cues running will be great. For our starting session, hopefully next week, it's going to be very important. So follow the instructions in the email, download it, try and get it running, and you'll be able to look at how you were actually doing speed-wise and what those distances and separations were like. If you record the time, then you'll be able to reference to photos and to race cues how it actually looks. At the top mark, if you want to do some kite practice, then remember a few things. We're wanting to keep as much weight on the rail as we can if the breeze is requiring it. So if we've got light wind, you might not need everyone on the rail, but thinking about how you set up for a kite and making sure that you're keeping as much weight on the rail. We're not sending 2 or 3 people up on the bow to set up for a kite. Well, ideally doing, if we're moving a bag ground, we're doing it on the tack beforehand, so that's being done on the windward side of the boat. Remember also not to lose your focus on sailing upwind and rounding the mark. And when you go around the mark, we're aiming to get our kite up and set as fast as possible. So getting it up and set as fast as we can, but also not losing our focus on keeping the boat sailing upwind. When we're getting to the bottom mark, we're wanting to drop as late as possible, but we're not wanting that to interfere with us getting the kite down tidally. So we don't want to have a big mess up the front and our bowman to be working for the next half of the beat, dealing with the fact that our kite got wrapped up, or it's a huge mess up the front, or having to repack it. We're also wanting to make sure that we're ready to get the weight on the rail for the upwind. Thinking about how you actually drop, do you always drop in a way that you have to repack it, or is there some way that you can hatch hoist it and save yourself some time and keep that weight up on the rail is really important too. Don't lose your focus on sailing upwind or getting around the mark, and don't forget about the other boats which are coming around the mark with you. So don't get yourself into that tunnel vision. Remember that you got potentially some obligations around there, and that if you've got lots of boats coming around the bottom mark together, then it might be a good idea to drop slightly earlier. Give yourself some more room, and it's not always slower to drop early. That's all I've really got for the moment. Have a look on the email for details of what crew members you have, for what person you've got doing the photos and things, and hopefully we'll see you out on the water. We'll be on 62, and my cell phone details will also be in that email.